You're struggling to build muscle, not because of your genetics. You're struggling because your cells don't speak gym, bro. You're going to the gym, you're moving weights, you're drinking your protein shakes, but what about your DNA? Completely indifferent to all of it. I'm Wallace, I'm a molecular biologist and biotechnologist, and I came to the US from the Dominican Republic at 15 years old, weighing 100 pounds. I spent years failing because I listened to influencers and crap online instead of reading research papers. It wasn't until I understood the biological signals that trigger protein synthesis that I added 80 pounds of mostly pure lean muscle naturally at Planet Fitness. Today I'm going to show you the only 3 signals your muscle cells actually respond to. If you're not hitting these, you're not training. You're just wasting your time. Here's what you're going to learn. First, the signaling hierarchy. Which signals matters most and which ones other people completely ignore. Second, why your muscles don't care about what gym you go to or what gym equipment you're using. And third, the recovery infrastructure that determines whether your body actually builds muscle or is going to break it down for fuel. By the end of this video, you'll understand why most people train for years and stay small. You know the exact biological protocol for triggering hypertrophy, and you're going to stop guessing and start operating with precision. So let's get into it. All right, your muscles don't grow because you lifted weight. They grow because of a specific molecular event called mechanotransduction. And I'm going to break down the specific signals that have to do with it. The first one is mechanical tension, and this is the master signal. Inside of every muscle fiber, you have proteins called mechanoreceptors. Think of them like sensors on a bridge. When you apply enough load, meaning when you lift heavy enough, these sensors are going to stretch. Now, that stretching is going to trigger a pathway called the MTOR, the mechanistic target of rampant. This is the biological on switch of muscle growth. When MTOR activates, it signals your cell muscles to start building new muscle protein. This is called muscle protein synthesis. And without this specific process, signaling and nothing is going to happen. Now, what's the problem? The problem is that most of you are using weights so light that the sensors are never going to activate. Research published by the Journal of Applied Physiology confirms this. If you're not training within 2 to 3 reps up to failure, the signal doesn't reach the nucleus of the cell. So no signal means no growth because it's binary. Now, you can do 100 reps with light weights and feel a pump. Your muscles are going to burn. You're going to sweat. But if you never create enough tension to activate the mechanoreceptors, your DNA ignores all of it. This is why people train for years without results. They're not creating the signal. Now, if you're training because you want to become an athlete or because you want to become a better performer, this is going to work. But as a rule of thumb, it's better to stay within 5 to 30 reps to actually build muscle. All right, now let's talk about signal number 2. When you push a hard set, your muscles are going to accumulate hydrogen ions and also lactate. This creates what's called a hypoxic environment, meaning you have low oxygen. Now, your body senses this and it activates as it is a harsh environment and releases hormones like growth hormones and IGF-1, which is our insulin growth factor. And these hormones are going to support the muscle binding process. But here's the key event. Metabolic stress alone doesn't build much muscle. It's fuel for the switch you already flipped with mechanical tension. A study in the European Journal of Applied Physiology compared high load training versus low load training to failure. Both groups got metabolic stress, meaning the burn, the pump, but the high load group, which created more mechanical tension, actually grew significantly more muscle. So yes, it does matter. The pump is going to help, but it's not the primary driver. Tension is. Now let's talk about signal number 3. When you lift weights, you create microscopic tears in your muscle fiber. This is very normal. This is not an injury. This is what should happen. Now your body detects this as damage and activates satellite cells, meaning muscle stem cells, which are the cells that are going to convert into any other type of cell. In this case, any other kind of muscle. There are 3 kinds of muscle. We can talk about that in another video. But for these purposes, what you need to know is that these cells are going to fuse to your damaged muscle fibers and donate their nuclei. More nuclei means more capacity for building muscle protein. But here's where most people screw up. They think more damage equals more growth. And this is completely wrong. If you destroy your muscles with excessive volume or excessive intensity, you exceed your recovery capacity. And this is essential. Your body spends all of its resources just repairing the trauma. So there's nothing left for actual growth. So you're basically running in place. Research shows that excessive muscle damage actually impairs hypertrophy. It has the opposite effect. You need some damage to trigger the repair response. But too much damage is actually counterproductive. So here's the hierarchy. First, mechanical mechanical tension. That's number one. This is the master signal. Without it, there's nothing else that matters. Second is metabolic stress, because it supports the growth but doesn't drive it away. Muscle damage is number three. Some it's necessary, but too much is destructive. You have to be careful. Most lifters do the opposite. They chase the pump. They chase the soreness. They think if you're not sore for 4 days, that means you didn't have a good workout. That's amateur thinking. That's guessing. That's not biology. If you want to have actual growth, you have to maximize mechanical tension by training close to failure with sufficient load. Everything else is pretty much secondary. Now let's talk about the equipment myth. Here's a reality that pisses me off a lot. People say your bicep has no idea. Reality is your bicep has no idea if you're training at an elite gym or Planet Fitness. Your muscle cells don't have eyes. They only have sensors. It really doesn't matter. If somebody's telling you that you need all of the variations that exist to hit every angle for you to grow any muscle, that's a lie. I'm a molecular biologist and I'm telling you, because I've designed these programs and I read the research, it doesn't matter. What your cells needs are the stimulus, not the tool. If you're hitting it, it doesn't matter if it's cables, if it's the machine. It really doesn't matter as long as you're putting stress onto the actual muscle. Of course, technique matters when it comes to hitting, but the equipment has little to no effect. A study in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research compared barbell bench press with dumbbell bench press, and it actually also compared weighted push-ups in the same study. Muscle growth has nearly identical results. Why? Because all three exercises created the same mechanical tension on the chest muscles. So it really doesn't matter. It was different tools, same stimulus. I built my entire physique with basically 6 movements: squats, bench press, rows, overhead press, deadlifts, and pull-ups. That's pretty much it. Why? Because the barbell row at Planet Fitness, which was the gym that I could afford at the time, creates the exact same mechanical tension as the row in a $300 a month luxury gym. It doesn't really matter. Complexity is a tax that ignorant people are going to pay to feel like they're actually making progress. I've seen so many people that have not achieved their goals trying to look for the more fancy equipment or the more fancy gym, like it's going to make a difference when it actually doesn't. And it only takes hope away from those who can't afford those things. So here's what actually matters for exercise selection. Number one, can you create mechanical tension with it? Can you feel the target muscle working? That's the question. Number two, can you progressively overload it? Can you add weight over time and track your progress? And number three, does it fit your body? Some people have long arms and bench press doesn't necessarily hit the chest that well. And some other people have knee issues or need more stabilizing help because of an injury. And that's okay. You only pick exercises that work for your specific biomechanics depending on your circumstances. Those are the only 3 criteria. You don't need 15 chest exercises. You need 1 or 2 that create enough tension and that you can overload it and that actually fits your body. The rest is noise and designed to sell you programs that you don't actually need, or gym equipment that's only going to be extra. Here's the second thing your muscles actually don't care about: training frequency. And that's a hot take, but your muscles don't know if you train them once a week or 3 times a week. They only know total weekly volume. Yes, a meta-analysis in the Sports Medicine reviewed 25 studies on training frequency, and the conclusion was that when total weekly sets were matched, training a muscle once per week versus 3 times per week produced very similar muscle growth. It was actually shocking to me. What matters is actual total volume. How many hard sets you do per muscle group per week, not how you distribute them. For most people, that's 10 to 20 hard sets per muscle group per week. Meaning, how you split those sets, full body, upper, lower, push-pull legs, is personal preference, based on your schedule. It really doesn't matter that much. Your muscle doesn't care. They only care about the total stimulus. So don't beat yourself up over it. Now let's talk about recovery, because this is extremely important. You don't grow in the gym. You grow during recovery. Training is the instruction. Recovery is actually the execution. If you trigger MTOR in the gym but you only sleep 5 hours, you've sent a command, a construction crew that has no materials and no time to work. You need 3 things. Number 1, protein. You need 0.8 to 1 gram per pound per body weight daily. This is going to provide the amino acids, the literal building blocks that your body uses to build your muscle tissue. Without enough protein, your body can't execute growth signal. And I cannot stress this enough. You need it. It's like trying to build a house without having no bricks, no cement, nor anything. Second thing is 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single night. This is when your body actually builds muscle. Muscle protein synthesis is elevated during sleep as well. If you're sleeping 5 to 6 hours, you're wasting your time in the gym. Your body doesn't have enough time to complete the repair growth process. Research shows that sleep deprivation reduces muscle protein synthesis by up to 18%. So you're leaving nearly 20% of your gains on the table by not sleeping enough. It makes no sense. Number 3, stress management. If you're chronically stressed, This hits me hard. Your cortisol levels stay elevated. Cortisol is a catabolic hormone, meaning it breaks down muscle tissue for fuel. If you train perfectly, if you eat perfectly, but your life is a mess, you have poor sleep, high stress, and no recovery, your body stays in catabolic state. It will literally eat its own muscle to fuel your stress response. This is extremely important. That's why the gym is only one piece of your inner growth. You can't build a high performance body with a low performance life infrastructure. It just can't happen. You need systems, you need routines, you need to manage your stress, you need sleep, you need nutrition. There's a whole bunch of stuff that happen to have in your life for you to get those results. Training triggers the signal, but infrastructure determines whether your body can execute on the actual signal. Most people ignore this because they think that more gym is going to equal more growth. But if your recovery infrastructure is broken, more training just digs in a deeper hole than what it was. So you have to fix your infrastructure first and then optimize your training. Hypertrophy isn't a mystery. It's a biological protocol. You have to maximize mechanical tension by training within 2 to 3 reps of failure. Hit your volume targets, 10 to 20 hard sets per muscle group per week. Build recovery infrastructure, meaning protein, sleep, and stress management. And if you do this, growth is just a mathematical certainty. If you don't, you'll stay small. I went from 100 pounds to 180 pounds because I stopped guessing and started following the biology. I treated my body like a lab experiment, and I'm giving you the instructions that took me years to master. I adjusted it literally based on data, so you can do the same. If you want the complete system, the exact training split, the progression model, nutrition, framework, infrastructure, recovery protocols that I actually used and that I've used for other people too, that's what I actually do, and you can apply in the link down below. I'm opening spots for people who are actually tired of guessing in the gym and ready to operate with scientific precision. But in the meantime, this is enough for you to actually change your life and get the transformation you've always wanted in 2026. I'm Wallace. Subscribe to the channel for more biology-based training that actually works. Now stop watching YouTube and go trigger some hypertrophy, man.